Magandang araw sa lahat ng mga ginoong magmamano. It is indeed a pleasant day because today we have with us our international endorser and world champion, Mr. Dan Miller of Oklahoma. It's Miller time, Dan.
Always a pleasure, Doc.
Okay, Dan, when you won the WPC Excellence Invitational Derby in February at the Manila Arena this year, 2025, what stood out were your bloodlines. What are these winning bloodlines?
The roosters that stood out the most to everyone were the gray roosters that I fought. That's an old line of Joe Good grays that I've had for more than 12 years. It was a cross that I had made about 11 or 12 years ago, where I added Lassie Roundhead blood into those. And those grays there seem to be a little better cutters than just normal. The gray blood has always been good as far as strength and gameness, but the cutting ability, I feel like the Roundhead really helped.
Okay. Aside from the gray and the Roundheads, what other bloodlines do you have?
Some of the ones that I used was the 𝗕𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗄 crosses, and there was a couple pure Roundheads, the lacy side of the Roundhead.
Okay, you know Dan has a wealth of experience in breeding. So let's ask Dan, how does he select his broodcocks and brood hens?
The brood hens, I like to put in a pen and sit down in a chair and watch those hens. It seems like the more you're around those chickens, the more you can tell what you have. I like to look for station, of course, and plumage, tail feathers, the way the hen acts mentally and physically. Pretty much the same with the stags.
Then you mentioned something about the station. But during the WPC Excellence Invitational Derby, people are quite surprised. You did not fight high station chickens. You fought medium to medium high. How is that?
The roosters that were there, believe it or not, was very carefully selected. They were sparred and picked on what I knew they could do. Those roosters always cut extremely well. So the station, it didn't bother me as bad as it bothered most people.
Yeah, what I have observed is that your fowls were very healthy. As my advocacy goes, whether it's breeding or fighting, health is always number one. Now, how do you keep your broodstocks, broodcocks, and hens for that matter, productive and healthy?
Health always starts at day old. To me, it's like you say, Doc, health is always number one. You have to start, really, even my brood pens needs to be healthy. To raise healthy chicks, they need to come from healthy brood fowl. So all the health that you see on my place, it all starts in the egg. And I think truly a 365-day health program is what every farm needs.
Yeah. Dan, can you expound on the Dan Miller system of raising chicks and young stags in the range?
Yes, like I say, the health is the number one thing. So once you raise healthy fowl, your selection and culling, it makes it a lot easier. The health of babies are fairly easy. With healthy fowl, you don't have a lot of secondary infections. And so the secondary infections is usually what really gives people trouble. It's an underlying cause, and once you get rid of that cause, all the other problems just seem to go away.
What products of excellence can help you raise these healthy chickens?
I think the number one thing for me is probably the deworming. I think that a worm is a parasite that really takes its toll on chickens. The more worms they have, the more likely they're going to be to have problems as far as secondary infections. Coccidiosis is another thing that, you know, I know everyone in the world has to fight that parasite, but the 𝗕𝗵𝗺𝗃𝗃 seems to help really good with the coccidiosis for me.
Yeah, I have to agree with Dan regarding coccidiosis and deworming, because coccidiosis is one disease that affects the digestive system, especially when they are 4 to 8 weeks of age. And if they got hit with coccidiosis, the absorption of nutrients is adversely affected, and this will severely affect the health of the birds. Now, second, he mentioned something about deworming, and this is where it comes. Because in the presence of parasites, the birds will be stressed out. They produce cortisol, the immune system goes down, and all other secondary infections come in. And that is what Dan is telling us. Thank you, Dan, for that mark. Now, there's a question here coming from aficionados. They're wondering what the Dunn-Miller feeds and feeding system is. Brood cocks, growing birds, maintenance for cocks on tricords. Your feeding system.
I have my feed custom mixed. Being that I've been in Gamefowl for 40 plus years, I've kind of come up with my own feed mix, and I like feeding whole corn and pellets. I also like feeding sunflower seeds. Now, different times of the year, I don't change a lot of feed up, but I do change the amount of corn or the amount of pellets. I do that on grown fowl on tricords. Now, babies, I have my own mix on that as well, and it stays the same. But generally, I like feeding a protein that's somewhere around 22% on my babies. When it comes to cocks on cords, generally somewhere in the range between 16 and 17% is what I personally like. Now, with that being said, I think that your ground has a lot to do with the amount of protein that you need. I've got a couple of different farms in the US, and the ground on one farm needs more protein than the other farm to keep the roosters in the same flesh. So according to your ground, it's probably going to be according to your feed. That's the controversy of some people saying that maybe 12% is enough for them, and some people says they may need 18%. But like I say, usually 17% is a pretty fair number for mine.
Yeah, okay. Dan mentioned that his feeds are custom mixed, from chicks, growing, maintenance, up to conditioning. The advantage of Dan and all other breeders in the US is the quality of the grains that they use in the feeds. In the Philippines, where it is hot and humid, we have a lot of problems with mycotoxins. In the US, where they have 4 seasons, they don't have these problems. There are no big feed mills in the US. They make their own feeds, and yet their birds are very healthy. The big difference, the quality of their feed ingredients. Another common question, Dan, for you is the Dunn-Miller conditioning system, the preparation and selection of cocks to be fought.
To me, spending time with your fowl is one of the key things to conditioning or just overall health. If you're around your rooster enough, you can tell if that rooster feels good that day, or maybe you can see an underlying problem that would be a really easy fix at that moment. The maintenance that I usually do on my roosters, I like to be with those roosters a lot. So when I when I feed my roosters, they tend to come out, and the way they act and move around me, that's how I start selecting roosters. Now, like anyone, you need to spar, but the way I do it myself is look for a smarter type rooster, one maybe that hits first. In the US versus the Philippines, there's a lot of difference in the way we like our roosters to move compared to the Philippines. Our roosters there, it seems like we like to get on top and fight going down. I've noticed in the Philippines, a more smart rooster will fight going up. And so that's the main thing that I see that I had to work on a little bit myself to be able to compete in the Philippines.
Yeah. Then what struck me was your statement that you have to spend time with your fowls.
Yes.
Come to think of it, ponder upon this statement of Dan. Spend time with your fowls. That's the best way for you to know how your fowls will fight during preparation, selection, and fight day. I like that, Dan. Then how about the Dan Miller kit?
Well, like everyone, I have my own way of doing it, but it's not really a big secret to me. Keep everything very simple. If you will notice through time, everyone tells you to keep it very simple. I don't change my feed a lot on the pointing side. I do maybe take away the pellets and add more corn if I need that, but don't change up things so much that it affects the rooster's digestive system. That gets easily changed when you change the feed. Don't start giving a bunch of stuff that the rooster's not used to. If he hadn't been fed that in 3 weeks, the last 3 days is not going to help him. So try to keep it simple. Days are going to be different. Cold weather, warm weather, rainy days, dry, hot days, they all are going to affect that rooster different. So use common sense and spend enough time with your rooster. He'll tell you when he's ready.
Yeah, Dan, I like that. Keep it simple and use common sense. But in the Philippines, it's hot and humid. And sometimes cock house management on fight day is very important. What are your thoughts on this?
In the Philippines, we have days just like this in the US. And my advice for days like that, I like to use a dehumidifier and a humidifier working together. On hot, dry days where the humidity may be a little lower, you can always add the humidity to that. I like to keep mine somewhere around between 65 and 68% humidity with the temperature about 65 to 70. That works the best for me.
It so happened that that system was also shared by Vivo Enriquez. He wants the humidity between 65 to 70. And what I have observed, regardless of the temperature, as long as you maintain the humidity at 65 to 70, 67, 68, you're doing good.
I agree.
I heard that you plan to put a farm here in the Philippines. How do you plan to manage it compared to what you do in the US?
The farm here will be a lot like the one in the US for me. It's still going to be about health. To me, a nice clean farm always means you care more about your roosters, in my opinion. And my farm in the US, I try to keep everything nice and neat. I'm there a lot, and so in the Philippines, I plan to do the same thing. I'll have my own special way, of course, of pens and the setup and the cock house. But as far as health goes, it'll be basically the same thing. There'll be a little bit of adjustments, I'm sure, because of the weather. There, we kind of have 4 seasons, and you really kind of have 2 seasons, wet and hot. And so I'm sure it'll take a little bit of getting used to, but I don't really think that it'll be anything that'll be too hard for me to figure out.
Okay, then, with all the discussions we have had, what is your advice to our listeners on the important factors that can influence the performance of our game fowls?
I think the best advice I could give anyone, whether it's a beginner or someone that's had fowl for years, is just to remember, keep it simple for one, but health is always going to be your #1 priority over anything else. Without health, you have nothing. So try to keep it simple, spend time with your fowl. You'll understand a lot more about them if you're with them a lot. The health is something that maybe get you a piece of paper and a pencil and write down what you might need to work on as far as keeping your roosters healthy. The way I am, it's going to be deworming. Make sure you've got vitamins and electrolytes. When it comes to breeding time, you've got breeder's aid for your brood hens. And you can't forget those brood fowl. No matter what you're doing in your farm, every step is going to seem small sometime, but all the small steps lead up to something big. So just spend a lot of time with your fowl and get you a good regiment where you can think up things that you can do to improve later on.
Yeah, I like that, Dan. Keep it simple and spend time with your fowls. I think that's a very nice advice.
Thank you.
All things being said, the performance of our game fowls, whether for fighting or for breeding, the bottom line is
health is always #1.